Everyone, welcome to join us. This talk is going to be about Eternal Terra Year and Center for the Future as an open call for ocean action. And my name is Yidi Wang.
I'm Jessica Newfield.
Yeah, so let's start. I'm sure you're like quite interested or familiar with this kind of shape. It could be noise or it's visualized or spatialized, could be in the space. And it's actually based on a prior research on artificial synesthesia in tension between sonic and architecture composition. And it's going to be also delivered by me in the art science conference later on in September in Slovenia about, interdisciplinary transcendence. And this research, if you are interested, you can scan the QR code to read it online. It's posted on the Post-Human Art Lab. It's basically talk about how intelligent computational infrastructure and also sort of a stochastic redundancy could be applied in a planetary institution, this kind of context. So from sonic composition, we can do spatialization. What about physicalization? Can we create a sculpture based on these systems? And even furthermore, can we imitate an oyster from the biosphere to access the biointelligence? So inspired by geometrical complexity of pearl oysters and their unique relationship with wetland ecology, socioeconomic systems, infrastructure, and digital aquacultural models through pearl farming, the Eternal Terra Year project aims to engineer a bio-object intelligence system. The system will measure synchronicity between human and non-human systems through scientific data from digital ocean twins, industrial correlations, and fabricated microarchitectural devices. Carrying sensory data, these devices will function as biointelligence nodes that generate and amplify energy derived from waves from the ocean, oscillations of bio-objects, and also citizen science. Eternal Terra Year as a digital platform, we approach this from three research aspects: historical archive, idea extension as prototype to be spatialized, which is important, like crucial part of the open call, and also anti-disciplinary presence as intervention from different, perspective of to connect to different stakeholders like policymakers, sonic engineers, and even politically as science diplomacy. So first of all, I would like to introduce you the materiality experiment I've done in the Robotics Institute in Barcelona. I've tried to imitate what materiality of an oyster or even this ecosystem could deliver. So I use the squid calcium and mix it up with the gray clay to see how they will function or perform as a material, and also wood and stone fragment together to function together, and also the biomaterial as alginate. Yeah, so this is the installation I did using those materials. And also, of course, audiovisually used black block tracking and touch designer to see how those floating 3D printed fragments to imitate those floating components on the water or in the water could, generate sound based on their movement using, software tools. And secondly, I want to introduce you the historical archive I've found. Very interestingly, in Milano, the historical archive, I found in the history, people already using, biointelligence or at least the shape of it or physics of it to create some artifacts. And through shipping, they are delivered globally as a physicalized object. For example, the spear as weapon imitates squeeze a sharp shape, and then the bolt will also imitate the shape of a shell as well. And not only the artifacts, but also what's accommodating those artifacts as amphora, the thing that accommodates the artifact. They also they were like buried under the underwater ground, so they will not be oxidized. And this is very similar to the process of how oyster, as a baby oyster, this breed they need to attach to the underground clay, and then but also access the oxygen and sunlight. So this sort of a system is very similar to those artifacts along history. And also the shape of it, the enclosure of it, will actually create a macrocosm that's arrested and remaining under the sea as if it's suspended in time. So if we see along history, yeah, it has a very long time existing already. And there are some other pictures of those artifacts that are having interesting shapes. Especially for skin boats, it's already using animalities' skin as the important fragment for its construction as well. So in this kind of functionality, animality is not only a living organism, but reaches certain eternity if we utilize it in artifacts and for artificial creation. And the next one is anti-disciplinary or interdisciplinary presence as intervention. We approach it from urban studies perspective in the port studies, but interestingly, as you can see on the screen, it's a lot of images of biology. So macro marine animality and ecosystem studies are very important perspective to understand, port cities in modern days as well. And in terms of the evolution of how port cities are growing, it's very interesting to see itself as an organism. If Sinakis mentioned the interrelation between architectural and sonic composition, can we expand the scope to a situated urban composition as well? So the question comes, beyond sonic events that we are creating, what can we do to generate socio-political and environmental impacts with our engineering skills, with all those systems? So the answer for now I can offer is like we should bridge the policymaking world, especially in the era of environmental and digital transition. I did this research in Sciences Po like half a month ago in the Open Institute for Digital Transformation. We did some data analysis on greenwashing political ads on Meta, and it's closely related to the EU DSA Digital Service Act legal system to regulate the very large online platforms. So it's very interesting to see how existing in the reality world, there are so many data out there, and we should give them a form as a message to deliver to the general public for them to understand, yeah, we are all existing in the chaotic stochastic systems. And furthermore, the EU government delivered this report earlier in February about science diplomacy, how closely science and the politics actually link closely together, and also through our science, ways we could deliver to the general public to boost the citizen science. And if we want to do citizen science, what kind of collective space we could expect to empower artists, sonic engineers, and future infrastructure, work with the politicians. We're developing toolkits for sonic engineers and all of us to transcribe our creativity into climate impact and future infrastructure. So as you can see on the screen, this aggregated model, it started from analysis of recycle industrial system of pro farming, as I mentioned in the beginning. And actually there are small situated parts, but embedded in a larger context, for example, in the deep sea marine culture management and integrated renewable energy infrastructure. So all this system analysis and mapping will be available for sonic engineers to situate their work on, to give a more realistic context. And also we have evidence-based data sources, including the open source from the government, as I mentioned, the digital ocean twins. And for example, this interface we will just use based on the historical data and also the present data to foresee a climate future for the general public. If we do everything right, what will be in this carbon, etc. aspects. So, yeah, so this is like generally an open call and a message delivered to everybody that we could actually co-build a digital biointelligent platform with all of you for ocean future infrastructure to transcribe those open source data into sonic sculptures. And if you are interested, you could scan the QR code and then say, well, why you're interested in this and what do you want to get, what do you expect to get out of it. And we can have a conversation all together with, policymakers. And it's also part of our residency with the Center for the Future. Yeah, great. And next if you want a QR code, we will have it again in the Jessica's presentation. So yeah, now we're gonna talk about the Center for the Future.
Thank you, Yidi.
Yeah, no problem.
So now I'll speak more to the social science application piece of that. I'm Jessica Newfield, and I'm a community builder program designer. I work at Sustainable Ocean Alliance, which is a nonprofit that focuses on ocean restoration in our lifetime. And over the last 10 years, my background has really been at the intersection of climate policy, conservation tech, and community building. And so I'm excited to tell you more about this project that we've been developing as part of the Masters of Design and Distributed Innovation at IAC in Barcelona. So as Yidi was starting to talk about, the problem that we're really trying to address, the challenge that has been at the heart of the design process, is the fact that coastal communities are usually the hardest hit by the climate crisis, yet they are usually excluded from the decision-making process that affects them on climate adaptation. And so fundamentally, we think that is poor design because the people that are most affected by a problem really should be at the heart of solving that problem. And so the Center for the Future, we built it because we wanted to ensure more participatory governance of coastal areas and underrepresented communities. And the vision of it is to offer an applied learning space that convenes and matches artists, scientists, policymakers, and citizens to find together real solutions for the climate crisis. So really it would be a hub for research, creativity, and action, helping people build a more resilient future. And this is just, an AI generated photo of what that would look like, but we're seeing it as a,
It's fine.
you're good? Okay. But really seeing it as this living laboratory space. And in my experience, and I think a lot of people who've worked in different disciplines notice that there's a lot of silos in this type of work. In my work, policymakers don't often consult scientists about policy making. They get memos that are basically summarized by a policy analyst, and they get a paragraph summary about a policy that they should be implementing. And so really the mission here is to ensure that we have more multidisciplinary collaboration. And so I just want to give you an example of types of projects that we could envision being part of the Center for the Future. This was a proposal that was submitted to the French Ministry of Culture by Ben van Wang. He's an artist who does very large scale installations and uses different materials and works with different types of artists to do this. This was submitted, and this was basically, this is supposed to be built at the UN Ocean Conference. Because of just, the bureaucracy around this, there's a lot of obstacles for artists like him, even though they have a lot of notoriety, to actually get this type of work funded in advance and have enough runway time to do this. So this would be the type of installation, for example, that we would like to build. And this large scale art installation reimagines our oceans as vast illegal fishing nets. And so it's really a symbol of how marine life is trapped, and also it emphasizes the alarming realities of ocean degradation that takes shape. So whether it's plastic pollution, chemical contamination, or ocean acidification, and bycatch, all of it is represented here. And so this art installation, the plan was to have it be visually present in the port of Nice. So this would be happening in June. And so you would not only, it would also be visible to the public, but then also there'd be a curatorial experience for the policymakers to be walked through that. So they're not just staying in, the conference rooms doing closed door negotiations, but they're actually interacting with the lived space in a situated infrastructure. So yes, so this is the vision, a global hub for radical ideas, research, and experimentation in climate adaptation, participatory governance, and cooperative design. Oops. So the way that we're envisioning the Center for the Future is a federated collective. So there'd be 3 autonomous sub-organizations. One is this think tank that is still doing research on what the future of governance looks like, climate adaptation, and distributed systems. I'm French and American, and my American side is very concerned about the state of research given our current government in the US. And so just the ability for scientists to get their research out there, regardless of the politics of their country, is very important. And then the second branch would be this consulting branch. So one that really serves as an engine that's also revenue generating, but works with city governments at the local and regional level. And then finally, this residency that Yidi mentioned. So really the space for artists, sonic engineers, citizens, and activists to come together around climate innovation and to continue being civically engaged. And then finally, this CFF residency, we're planning to launch in the fall. So you can scan the QR code. It's the same one that Yidi shared. And then maybe now we can take some time for questions or comments or thoughts. Yeah, open to any suggestions or any ideas that you have or things that come up from this. Thank you. And also we're online. If there's anyone online that has questions, please feel free to put them in the chat and we'll also, make sure to call on you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Great.